Hey, Arash, Geeta and Ryan. This is JT Miller with the Vancouver Canucks, and you're listening to Pucks on Net.
Do you want to know where that came from?
Yes.
That came from a friend of Arash that messaged me on Friday night, and he says, I got something for you.
Okay.
And he reached out, and Travis got that for the podcast.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, man, that's so...
Wait. Does JT Miller listen to Pucks on Net? Because he just told us we're listening to it.
Yeah, he does. And now, listen, he doesn't want to trade. He loves it here. Everything's great. And all the hearsay is just rumor and innuendo. We are a JT Miller Pro podcast here.
Do we have a tree for him?
All right, live on tape from the Pucks on Net dining room. This is Pucks on Net, and today we're going to be talking about the West Coast Express. We have Dave, also known as Gravy. Dave got called up to the show this week, and we're very happy about that. Dave, how you doing?
Glad to be here, Ryan. You know, that was great that, the positive feedback. I did get one negative email regarding the podcast. I have it right here in front of me on my screen if you'd like me to share some tidbits from an angry Pucks on Net listener.
Oh, no.
You guys suck. It was the worst thing I've ever heard. You should tape your mouths shut. You should gouge your eyes out, even though that has nothing to do with recording audio. It would just be fun to have you suffer. Also, be sure to touch base with your sister about what time dinner is. Love, Mom.
Dave, was that sent to the Pucks on Net Gmail?
No, that was right to my personal account.
Oh.
There are 4 teenage women drinking beer in a hot tub in Regina. And 2 old guys watching them.
If you have enjoyed the episode so far and you know somebody that has the attention span to stomach these and likes hockey, let them know. And
by that he means the attention span of a squirrel.
These are upwards of 55 minutes long. Some people don't have that span anymore.
You can't actually be productive while listening to this podcast, which I've learned because I've listened to 3 of them consecutively.
We have our number 1 fan here has just joined the panel.
So now that she's here, no one's listening.
Some very exciting segment. It's a nerdy segment, but we like it.
Okay, because I want to say his name on air for the very first time ever. How are you going to link Ed Belfour to Captain Jason Spezza?
Very special for the first time ever in a full episode. PMAC on the street has joined us. How are you doing, Paul?
It's great. It's nice when the third stringer like me gets a chance to come up and join the squad when your 2 starters, your 2 regulars are out. I don't know what they did. It's kind of Bobby Lou-like right now.
And me and Arash are going to be doing a 5 minutes for paying. I just dumped that on his lap now because I forgot to tell him. But he's going to be on for 5 more minutes while we come up with something to say. That's
it's fine. It's like any committed relationship. It's like someone's just going to forget to say some stuff, and the other person either can be mad or just accept it, be like, oh, that's just Ryan. I just love him. It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
Ryan forgot to tell me that I'm going to be podcasting for the next 6 hours on a holiday Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot all the memories we had when we begrudgingly are forced to be here on Monday night. And oh my God, we had some really fun times.
We were so young. We were fresh-faced.
Oh my God.
We didn't know anything.
There's something seeing you guys absolutely wasted during the Olympics that brought me just like so many memories of being like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, really. I wish I could remember 2014.
I think during the gold medal game, I was entirely too hungover to like go downtown.
Well,
I just woke up.
That was the 2014 gold medal game where we were drinking heavily all evening, and then Dave said, "Oh, we have a seat at the at some bar on Granville, and we're gonna watch the gold medal game.
There was probably like an inch of booze covering my apartment that night because he had an impromptu party and then moved it on over to the Yaletown Brew.
And then I proceeded to stop drinking booze and started drinking coffee to try and stay up through the whole gold medal game. But I mean, it is what it is in Canada. It was a bit of a snoozer. The point
Damn
is,
you, Sochi. Damn you.
Live on tape from a myriad of locations. This is the 300th episode of Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast that doesn't talk about fantasy, but probably will talk about fancy stats. Another satellite hot stove edition on this, the most momentous of podcasts ever, as another satellite hot stove edition. My name is Ryan Chapp. I'm going to be your host of the evening, coming to you from my West End studio apartment, a stone's throw away from the Pump Jack. If you head east to East Van to the House of Greed, Geeta, how the hell are you doing?
I'm pretty damn fantastic. I got asked yesterday when we started this little show.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, back in 2013. And the response was, did they even have podcasts back then?
They had 3. They had one of them was Joe Rogan, and one of them was us, and the other one was Serial. And if you head over the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge to the village of Deep Cove, to the Prince of Pomegranate, Arash, you weren't your part of that video, of our intro video, was small but impactful. And I just want to say I've never been I don't think I've looked forward more to a podcast than this one. So how are you doing, Arash?
Oh, I'm doing great. And I'm so proud of you and Geeta and for doing all this and fucking being a part of it. Congratulations, guys. 300.
Woo!
Finally,
Yeah.
I can refer to 300. That isn't a movie that satirizes Persians as like weird, hairless, non-binary gendered people. We're like getting kicked down a well.
Hey, we're here. We're taking it back. 300 is ours. We own it.
Hashtag take back 300.
The official hashtag of the 300th episode of Pucks on Net. So if you, the listener, are listening, hashtag take back 300. I want to thank you for joining us, whether it's been a minute or a whole episode or every episode since September of 2013. I want to make sure you follow us on Twitter at PucksNetCA or PucksOnNetCA. And we have a great initiative this week because the CAW has been sold once again to a longtime listener, longtime Patreon backer, Heather Smart. And I believe 3 years running, she's my favorite listener. I'm like a bad parent. I put that out there and I say who my favorites are. But Heather's sponsoring the podcast because she's already a Patreon backer anyway. And the project she has been volunteering with all pandemic needs some feelers out in Western Canada, and sponsoring it on the podcast I've listened to all pandemic just makes sense. The project is the On Canada Project. It's a grassroots volunteer-based project. They bring together your friendly neighborhood nerds, active citizens, and change agents in order to keep millennials and Gen Zs informed and engaged with issues impacting Canadians. Predominantly life related to COVID-19 right now. And what better thing to be focusing on? She specified that I make sure I say some of this, if not all of it. So I'm just going to read all of it. We've since evolved into a big group of young people who continue to make content related to our mission, which is to help Canadians stay informed, take up action, and champion change in Canada. We have over 150 volunteers, and we're always looking for more people to join our project. While based largely in Ontario, we are actively looking to recruit from other provinces, so holler at us if that's you. Check out oncanadaproject.ca and make sure you follow them on Instagram at oncanadaproject, and their website again is oncanadaproject.ca. Now, Geeta and I talked about this, and this is an initiative that we're all big fans of. Arash, I imagine you would be too, and we're going to contribute a generous amount of our June Patreon money to this initiative. And just to get our business out of the way, and we'll get into our show. Last week I announced a contest for an existing Patreon backer who's supported the show. They get to enter into win a Pucks on Net shirt. That was a reef. I did the legit contest this just before the show. I've contacted him and I'm sending him a shirt out in Gibson's probably tonight. And he's got a restaurant. He's got a restaurant out there, and we're gonna go there and make the demand the friends and family discount. And we did say that any new Patreon backers from now until the end of May 31st, any new backers of $5 or more get entered into a contest for a new Pucks and Net shirt, which is normally only a $25 a month perk. And we have a new backer this month, Sam Tonning, local stand-up comedian, hell of a nice guy, very funny. He's pledging $5 American dollars, $7 Canadian dollars. So thank you very much, Sam. And he is a delightful man. So all that out of the way. Well, now what do we do?
There has been so much to discuss.
Oh my gosh.
And I feel like I'm going to explode.
Okay.
So someone needs to pick a topic and we just need to go.
Let's start with the Jets because they're on right now.
Jets fly together, baby.
Jets fly together. Oh my God. Sorry. I mean, okay, let's just listen. We've talked a lot about Winnipeg.
It's 2-1 Jets now, by the way.
It's 2-1 Jets. Okay. None of us picked Winnipeg to win. I think a lot of us have.
I'm pretty sure we picked Edmonton to come out of the North.
Dude,
because we had just seen them to play the Canucks.
I thoroughly thought that this is like, okay, this is going to be like 5 games. Edmonton's going to win 4-1. And so now, I mean, you look back at Winnipeg, right? So the Line A trade, they came into the season with this like kind of defense by committee, Neil Pionk, we don't know, Josh Morrissey, can he be a number 1, all this stuff. Think about the ramifications of Edmonton right now. So they're down 2-1. If they get swept,
they're down 2 in the game in the first period. They're down 3-0 in a series, and they're thrown into a back-to-back.
No, just quickly. So they're down. If they lose this game, they get swept. They go into an offseason. They have $22 million in cap space. Larson, Barry, Nugent Hopkins, all UFAs. Mm-hmm. So those aren't just like anchor contract. Well, maybe Larson, but those aren't like anchor contracts.
Right.
So now here's Ken Holland having to deal with, okay, McDavid is not going to be happy. This is also an offseason where Jack Eichel's asked for a trade. He's going to be traded.
Right.
Ken Holland's going to have $22 million. He needs to completely revamp this roster. He needs to find a goalie. Like, can you imagine they're like, you know what? Mike Smith, one more time, baby. Can you imagine Connor? He's just like chain vaping in the corner, being like, I need to sell my postmodernist house that I built in Edmonton.
He shows up to camp. It's like, what's Mike Smith doing here?
What's Mike doing here?
Wait, Ken?
You again.
What's this?
Hey, Mike's here. Is he picking stuff up? What?
Does he have a job as a trainer? Because he can't play goal anymore.
To be fair, to Mike Smith, he had a pretty great season. He wasn't. I mean,
is
goaltending
Mike Smith
issues.
40?
Yeah, he's like I think
Late
he's 39, 40.
Yeah,
he's 39, 40. He's up there. So I mean, the goaltending issues in Edmonton have laid directly on the feet of Canucks MVP Mikko Koskinen.
Right.
So, goaltending is not their number one thing.
Wait, can we just? That one's a thinker. Somebody's glossed over that very funny joke in the car.
What was the joke?
Canucks MVP Mikko Koskinen.
Can you tell me I'm wrong? Mikko Koskinen alone gave them like 3 draft positions up.
Tell you you're wrong. That is a different show in
a different show.
Digital space.
It's good. But yeah, I'm just looking at Edmonton and man, it just adds another narrative to I feel like this off season, man, there's just so much shit that's going to go down and it's going to happen so fast. So you have the draft lottery, then you have the cup final, then you have the draft, and then you have free agency. And in between all that, player movement, staff, all this stuff.
If I could just pose a question to Geeta. Now,
Yes.
Geeta, you're a rebuilding team. What is you're stripping down parts, you're trading all assets for as many picks as possible. What is your best possible scenario if you're a rebuilding team that you wind up drafting or acquiring? Best possible scenario.
Sorry, I don't really understand the question, but I know what you need to subtract in order to rebuild.
Well, like if you were a rebuilding team,
Yeah.
What's the one type of player, or a player like an existing player that you would hope to win the lottery on?
Okay. I don't know. All I know is that if you subtracted McDavid, who is so unbelievably unhappy, and which is why I never draft him, there is a whole shitload of pieces. You could rebuild your entire team really, really well if you were really, really smart.
If you
Oh, Ryan, I think are you getting into the thing where you're like, what if they trade Connor McDavid
and Leon Draisaitl
and they get every draft pick in the 2021 draft?
I don't want to play that game. All I know is when you look at Connor McDavid's body language and his face, this isn't his forever home. But there's an opportunity to probably build a really, really good team if you get rid of that one piece. Like, he's an unbelievable piece.
Yeah.
But he's one person and he hogs all the points, and you need to be all around, and he's not goaltending because he's always in the other end zone.
Well, I mean, and then you have their second best player, who is literally the second best player in the league, in Leon.
So why don't you just elevate him by giving the second best player all this support?
So, wow, we really opened this fucking can almost 300 episodes.
I bring it up all the time because I never draft Connor McDavid.
As somebody that drafts Connor McDavid all the time, Geeta's hitting a nail on the head here.
If you trade Connor McDavid, you're not going to win the trade.
And that's okay.
But so we have to go back on, like, okay, Gretzky. We have to go back to Lindros.
But Lindros, no one thought that Colorado was going to win the trade, or Quebec. And then they won big.
I mean, if you think about that trade, the one piece that, I mean, they got multiple pieces back, but the one key piece that was like the slight comparable to Lindros was Forsberg in that deal. Now, I don't think a team out there is going to be, I don't know if it's like feasible to get full value for Connor McDavid, because that value will be unprecedented.
Their comparable is Draisaitl, and just elevating Draisaitl, like, I don't know, separate them.
Well, they do. Their biggest issue is, like, they have cap space, but, like, if you look at, like, the moves that Holland has made, so like the Athanasiou move last year, he gives up 2 seconds for Andreas Athanasiou, doesn't get anything out of him, and then he goes to Los Angeles, right? It's all about understanding that, okay, so they have 22 million in cap space, but now they need like 3 top 4 defensemen, a goalie, a second line center that when Leon Draisaitl isn't playing, new wingers for Connor McDavid that aren't like fringe player. They get so much shit that they need to do. That is it really like in this offseason, maybe, because you have the expansion draft as well. Like, maybe there's just like complete shit show right now. Like, I can only think in my head. So they're going to protect what, like Clefbaum, Bouchard, and Nurse as their defensemen, right? I don't even know if Evan Bouchard needs to be protected, but there's just so much work that needs to be done that even like, maybe they're like, you know what? Maybe like Leon is great, but fucking, they go. But the only way I think a deal like that happens is if Connor actually comes out and he's like, okay, no, I'm done.
I think he will. He looks like he's been done. I don't know. He looked like he was done in that post-game presser after game 3. Can anyone just try to sum up?
Has anyone seen joy on this man's face?
Not since April 2015, when Bill Daly flipped over a gold card and it said, the Edmonton Oilers have won the draft lottery. But now it's for real this time, because this player is real good.
Remember when Canucks fans thought that Cole Castles was going to be the answer to Connor McDavid? Man, what a time to be alive.
Hey, you shut down Connor McDavid in rookie camp, and all bets are off.
It wasn't even rookie camp, baby. It was the OHL final, wasn't it? It was Oshawa versus Erie.
Yeah.
Wow, are you even Canadian, dude? An Iranian guy just came on your podcast and talked about the OHL better than you. Welcome to Pucks on Net. It's my podcast now. Ryan's been ousted by my big brain. Just kidding.
I kind of had this whimsical gleam in my eye that maybe the Jets could give them a run for their money, but and I was talking to your customer outside of Pomegranate, where it's like, well, don't count out the Jets. Maybe they can squeak it out in 6 or 7, and now you're just like, how do you explain this? Is it just a matter of, okay, we're going to do everything? I mean, it makes perfect sense because we've spent the first 10 minutes of the show explaining what the oil is and isn't, and it is McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're playing on the same line together. You spend all your time and energy shutting that line down, and you're like, oh, wow, the Jets actually have some scoring depth and, a lot of underrated talent that can score goals. They'll pick up the slack. Everything works out fine, and I think they're done. I think Edmonton's done, and just it's like, it's ironic because it's the Oilers, but when they close a gas station down and they have to let the ground detoxify for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So they put
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So you put a chain link fence around the Oilers.
And you put a community garden on top.
Prevent them from getting the first overall pick. And you let it detoxify.
Yeah.
We all just got boomed because throughout the pandemic shortened season, we saw McDavid and Draisaitl, the play them 30 minutes a night thing work for most parts. But then playoff hockey happens. Yeah. And it's like, okay, now for 7 games, of course they had stretches where it was the North Division and you played however many games against someone. But whenever Leon and Connor are not on the ice, that's the biggest problem. It's very much like what? Yeah, it's very much like a Canucks type issue.
Well, were they just not that good, but they were just that much better than Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa, and that's all we were seeing? That's 30 games there.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts that the Oilers have 2 higher ceiling players than Vancouver has, but essentially they kind of have the same problem. I would argue that Vancouver has more pieces, up and down. They got a goaltender. They have Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Bo Horvat. But in terms of ceilings, none of those players have the ceiling that McDavid and Draisaitl have.
For sure.
But at the same time, they have the same problem where it's if your stars are not on the ice, you have not acquired or developed any other players that can insulate and be like a second threat. I love Jujhar Khaira. Good, great for him. Great that he's carved a career. Love to see more people of color in the NHL and making their dreams come true. But you need that higher ceiling of depth, and it's the same problem as Vancouver. And they got 22 million in space. Let's see what Kenny Holland is gonna do.
That's the thing. It's not like everybody's got a McDavid and Draisaitl. Colorado's doing okay without that.
Oh my god. Are we gonna talk about Colorado?
Well, we got the beloved friend of the show and longtime listener, Chris Faber of Canucks Conversation, is set to join us.
He can come on and talk about that stuff.
Talk about the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. He's right here. Let's just bring this guy in right now. Chris. How the hell are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, guys. I just made some chicken Caesar wraps, and I'm just waiting for the chicken to cool down now. So I'm going to enjoy that.
Anything unique in these chicken Caesar wraps?
I was thinking, so I bought one of the pre-made salad bags.
Smart.
I was like, it's just not how Caesar wraps are made though. So I got a whole bunch of this fancy, the stuff that comes in a glass container of Caesar salad dressing. So it's just the most saucy Caesar salad you would ever see. It would be disgusting to eat this without a wrap. So that's my little trick.
So you're buying Caesar salad dressing in glass containers now. So I just want to know, when did you become so independently wealthy?
You gotta treat yourself a little bit, So independently wealthy is not the right word for me. As I'm putting out tweets to call for sponsors for the show. So, things are going fine.
On that note, Chris, you've been a listener of ours for a while. You've been the perfect type of listener that you could hope for, somebody that spreads the word of the show and supports monetarily. And we've done 300 of these, which kind of blows my mind. But also, we've been doing this for a while. Do you have any thoughts, any opinions on the last 299 episodes of this little show of ours?
Yeah, so I met Arash obviously at Botsford Night. I've met you before, Ryan, but Geeta, it's nice to finally talk to you as well. I've been listening to you for a long time.
Thanks. It's so nice to meet you as well. I hear about you all the time.
Well, that's good. Hopefully good things. But that's actually my thing is I really miss, I hope Geeta's boyfriend is in the room, but like the old Tinder stories were so much fun. And I've been a Patreon supporter for a long time, and I can remember nights working at the mill where I was just driving around the forklift listening to random Tinder stories, and I was like,
that was our bread and butter for a long time.
They were definitely a weekly occurrence for a while. So I'm happy that you're happy now, but I gotta be a little selfish here and say I do miss some of those Tinder stories.
Well, I mean, 300 episodes go by. You meet partners who are Patreon backers, and as much as you want your tales of just sheer stupidity on a Tuesday night in Vancouver, you gotta.
None of us have ever been on Tinder. I have no idea what you're talking about. We all found our partners, and we've never looked anywhere else or talked to anyone. We immediately found them and have become attached. And Ryan, I think you should apologize to my girlfriend for even insinuating that I have ever talked to any other woman but her. How dare you?
Chris, you met you're a Botchford project finalist, a competitor, a whatever the specific technical term is, but our
winner is the word.
A winner. You're a winner. I've seen you on the softball diamond wearing shitty Beatles colors. Arash is also a Botchford winner. What were your first impressions of coming across this wide-eyed and bushy-tailed Iranian boy at the 500 level at Ruggs Arena?
Well, I came in and he was about taking 2 bites into a white spot burger, so I knew that he was a good man right there. And he spoke pretty highly of you, and I spoke pretty highly of you. You should have been there, Ryan. Man, it was just a celebrate Ryan party. Talking to Arash.
Pretty much.
It was. But no, I mean, I was super happy for Arash to get that opportunity, and I think he sees the hell out of it, and excited to see what he moves forward. Like, I think I told him that night, like, I've been listening to Pucks on Net for a long time. You obviously know this, but to hear that Arash was at it, I was so happy because I had no idea who this dude was, to be honest, before he came on. But then, it took him probably 5 episodes, and he won me over pretty quick. So I'm super stoked for you guys having this group of 3 now together and moving forward, because I think Arash has actually brought a lot to the show. So it's been good.
I consider myself incredibly lucky that I just when I sat back and it was time to make some difficult decisions, and I'm like, who could possibly fit in on this show? And my first pick was Arash, and I'm like, I think this could work. And after those 5 episodes and meeting and getting together and going for drinks when it was still legal with Geeta, I'd be like, okay, I think this is going to work just fine. And it's been incredible.
I think I personally came into form when I realized that A, I could swear, and then B, I could do like funny ethnic voices, and you guys wouldn't be like, Arash, we can't do that. Okay, we just can't do that. I'm like, you gotta just give me the laneway to go, man. Great. But no, Faber, Chris, you're an absolute beauty, and like on Botchford Night, you gave me such great advice and such great praise for Ryan and Pucks on Net and everything. And even though I actually spent more time being a photographer at Botchford Night than I did actually writing anything. Everyone just wanted pictures. Yeah. We just wanted, everyone wanted pictures with Chris because, I mean,
people won't understand.
You.
Sorry, it was mostly Clarissa. She's a monster.
I got the feeling that Arash was the Instagram boyfriend that night.
I was the Instagram boyfriend. Yeah, I was. What was it? I was. Oh gosh, who's the mom in Mean Girls?
Oh, Amy Poehler.
Yeah, I'm Amy Poehler with the camera, being like, "You go, Clarissa." Oh, girl, go, Queen.
You're not a regular mom. You're a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom. I have TikTok.
Faber, we've been just talking about the Oilers and their struggles. We were about to transition to the Colorado Avalanche, but we just had an eventful week in Vancouver. Just our time here is short, but I'm just curious about your feelings of the week that was in Vancouver and what your level of optimism, maybe out of 10, is going into the offseason and the expansion draft for the Canucks.
Yeah, I might be past optimism at this point. I'm like, the thing that sucks is just like, I can't keep relying on hope and anything can happen once you get in. Like, that's just not what I grew up loving the Canucks about. Like, I was 18 years old when they went to the Stanley Cup in 2011, and that's what like set me over the edge of being a huge fan of this team. I like to see a team that's built to win a Stanley Cup instead of just seeing what happens and hoping for everything.
What was your thoughts when multiple people asked Jim Benning, so you say you want to make the playoffs, but don't you want to win a Stanley Cup? Well, it's all about getting in the playoffs, and that's how you win the Stanley Cup. Like, he's just, do you sit there, you're on these Zoom calls, do you just kind of sit and kind of, grit your teeth a bit with this communication that isn't?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I asked one of the questions I asked him. I was like, 2 months ago, you told us that we were 2 years away. Today, you're telling us that, this team wants to compete. So I asked him, I said, what's the difference between competing and trying to win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
And I don't know, he probably started talking about the Abbotsford Comets or whatever, something like that. But I mean, yeah, like the thing is like, anything can happen, right? That's the big quote that I took out of it. Like, my bad was one of them, and anything can happen was the other one. Anything can happen, like crush the Canucks this past year. Like, anything that could happen happened, and it was all negative for them. So, maybe the hockey gods will return the favor, but then I remember that we're in Vancouver here. And like you guys said last week on the show, we have the beautiful surroundings, so we don't get to have a fun hockey team.
We'll wrap it up here, Faber. It's great to talk to you. And now that ever since you guilted us on the air, you shamed us publicly to sponsor Canucks Convo, and I should have been, and now we are. And I quite enjoy shooting the shit, your segments. How does it feel being almost a bit of a grizzled vet in these, in press row? And how did you build up the courage to ask Antoine Roussel a question en français?
Oh, ça a été très facile. But I mean, like, it's funny now that we're both Patreon supporters giving each other the same amount of money. We're just paying Patreon pretty much to give us small amounts of money back. But I mean, like, no, it's been crazy to like see how everything's happened, and like, no, I owe a lot of it to yourself, Ryan, and to Real Good Show. Like, those were the two podcasts that I first started listening to, like I said, when I was driving a forklift at the mill in Ladysmith, and to see how far it's come in like 3 years or maybe 4 years from now. Like, you guys were the first one that came up when I searched up like Vancouver Hockey Podcast. So like, that was a good thing to happen there. You did a good job with the description of podcast back in 2015 or whatever. But and even at the same time, when I first started like want to take this serious, I remember coming over here to Vancouver, and you were the first person that I considered media, because I think that podcasts are media. You were the first person that went out and had a beer with me. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I know that, Ryan's had a very successful podcast, and I learned a lot from just listening to this show and, other shows as well. So I've tried to pick up little things from each show. I've probably copied your intro when I was in my early days of the show.
You got it. Feel it, baby.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been cool to see everything over the past couple of years, and just trying to help other people out that have the ambition to do it. So it's been a lot of fun, and a lot of things have really gone my way. I've gotten very lucky in a lot of things, but I think I've worked hard enough to create some of that luck too. So it's been a fun ride.
Well, you just said it there. You've worked hard, and you're an engaging dude that nobody can dislike. And there's not a negative, not that I've found, and a negative ounce in your body. And just like, you're somebody that's gone in head first to make this is what you're going to do, and you're going to put all your energy into it, and you're doing it, and you're going to do it. And so it's great to see. It's great to see Canucks Conversations take off as it has. I look back fondly to a long weekend, Easter long weekend, half cut at the pub in Saturna Island, where I didn't have a long distance plan. I had a 45-minute long distance call doing a podcast with you, and just little things like that. It's giving back and helping out along the way, and you're doing the same, and it's great to see. So thank you so much for coming on with us. And again, you're the first guest. I put you tier 1 because you deserve it.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad I didn't listen to the advice that you gave me at Score on Davey when I asked, should I go to radio school? And you said, don't do it. Don't do it. It's a mistake. And here I am, Ryan. I'm glad I didn't listen to you back in 2017 or whatever that was.
He's still giving the same advice to this day. When I brought it up with Thomas Drance, I'm like, Thomas, I really want to do a night thing, like a night radio thing, but my friend Ryan Schapp is like, no, man, don't ever do it. Don't. It's like Reagan telling you don't do drugs. It's like, don't do radio. Just create your own stuff. It's fine.
All right, Faber.
Yeah, he's got it on the back of the business card now.
Faber, will you go? I'll send you a text. I listened to shooting the shit this afternoon. Enjoyed it. We got a lot of things to talk about with your son, Quadrelli. But until then, enjoy that rap, and thanks for sitting in with us.
Yeah, tell Quads to yell at his mom to shut up, because it's the most important thing he's ever done in his life. That's his catchphrase when we do the podcast, just screaming at his family.
Wait, you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one, kid.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
What a great guy. Another guy is in the waiting room right now, so let's just get to him. He's an international man of mystery because he is.
He's also like world famous. Yerky, it's been so long.
It's been what, 2 years now. I was supposed to be back there having a drink with Ryan a year and a couple months ago, and then there was this pandemic you guys may have heard of. It ended up making me cancel my plans.
Can you talk about this a bit more, Yerky?
Wait, I want him to tell everybody how we don't actually know his real name.
I can go along with that story if that helps. Yes, they don't know my actual name.
I just love how when I've known Yerky from like HF boards, then into Twitter, then into Ryan, and then Ryan telling me his real name. And then Yerky like tell me like, oh yeah, I know you on HF boards. Like, God damn it, this fucking Vancouver Canucks hockey community, man, it's so small.
Well, in honor of that, because it's sunny out here, I think it is for you guys too. Or well, it's not now; it's nighttime out here. But it was a very lovely sunny day, and like between the sun and being a fan of an utterly dysfunctional hockey team, I decided to put on my Golden Seals shirt to sort of blend those two concepts together.
Yerky, we just had Chris Faber on, who was a delightful man, and he talked about some of the first Pucks on Net and Real Good Show were the first two podcasts that he consumed in his journey straight to the top. And I was a listener of Real Good Show, and I kept hearing week after week, I'm like, who the fuck is this Yerky 21? And why does he keep sending them all these cool gifts? Like, why can't our podcast be like that? And after I believe you messaged me after retweeting a Betting on Empty, you started listening. You seem to like it. I don't know, me. I think you're hard of hearing. I can't recall. You seem to enjoy the show enough for us to bamboozle you into giving us your money. And next thing I know, I'm getting Pucks on It street signs. I'm getting
just a run.
I mean, well, hey, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Fun fact, when I had a job, when that arrived, I had a job interview at Global BC, and I grabbed it and I was in my shirt and tie. And I'm like, well, I got this from the post office. I'm like, well, I'll just bring it with me. So going to this boardroom at Global, and I'm getting interviewed for this job. And they're like, what's in that really dirty piece of cardboard? I'm like, oh, it's a Pucks on Net street sign. And it's like, what's CAW? I'm like, well, that's the Twitter handle that we don't own, but we want to own. It's like, what's 2300? It's like, that's the floor Geeta lives on. And I'm like, and they're like, okay, so back to what your responsibilities might be if you get this job.
Which and did you?
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so I'm taking credit for that then.
Oh yeah, I mean, I knew what I was doing. I knew. You swing a big hammer when you mentioned Yerky 21's name. Yerky, we've done 300 of these. I don't know how long you've been listening for. Does anything come to mind? Any sweet salutations or any positive thoughts as we are on this our 300th episode?
Well, you said it. I learned about you guys basically because you I think you retweeted my comic at one point, and thanks again for that, and I appreciate it. And that's certainly where I got the name from. So that's good enough for me to listen, and I loved it. And it's gone through changes in personnel, obviously, but it's always been great. It's always been a must listen for me. Some great memories include, well, there was a time that Dave described me as his favorite listener, so I'm going to take that to the bank. I mean, honestly, it's awesome. I'm someone, you know, I have a family. I don't watch like the sports news like I might have when I was say a teenager or a young adult, and I rely on podcasts to just figure out what's going on in all this stuff, and yours has been great for that. It's timely. It's like I get actual info from it, and it's fun and it's funny. And I like that you've loosened up a little bit on the no stats thing, because like you have to go with the times, man. You have to.
Thank you. Finally.
No.
Well, come on, you
We got
guys.
Ryan's pretty much Dale Talon over here.
This podcast has been on the air for a really long time.
I went back and I listened to some of the pre my knowledge of it ones, and honestly, in the first two when Gillis was still around, like, my God, is that nostalgic?
It's nostalgic because we're like, he's overvaluing his assets. He's got to move these guys. What's he doing wrong? They're protesting outside, and that's
Well, we've come full circle.
Totally 360 degrees.
Yerky, you are now maybe I've read the tea leaves wrong. I've read the room wrong. Now you are, by all accounts, a Benning supporter because you want to ride him till you're on empty because you're that big of a fan. I have that right?
Something like that, except kind of like the polar opposite. Yes.
What the Fire Gillis the Fire Gillis protests outside Rogers Arena 7 years ago were quite underwhelming. There's one photo of them where it looked kind of good.
Mm-hmm.
We had that this past weekend in Vancouver. First off, I listen, there's a lot of things to dislike about this organization, but if you're going to throw a goddamn protest about a hockey team, the nicest pretend summer May-long weekend in years in Vancouver is I was so far away from this on a boat. I thought about it. I'm not going down there. There was 8 people. There was more people on this podcast tonight, on this 300th episode, than were protesting Jim Benning's being fired or wanting it. How have you felt after this week of whirlwind news? We just talked to Faber about this. What are your thoughts? Because you've been going through this a lot.
The protest doesn't matter, right? Like you have the dudes who are dunking on it as though, like, you know, therefore their point of view is wrong. Like, there's not that many showed up during a pandemic on a long weekend. Like, no, I mean, I think the market is as unified as it has been, and stunts seem to be getting the attention of this ownership because they're apparently not very bright for people with a lot of money. Like that's the only reasonable conclusion to draw from folks who like don't understand that investing a little bit of money up front to make your team a powerhouse is better than not doing that and still losing money and still missing the playoffs. So, you know, stuff like the banners and all, like I support it. I mean, the argument that there are better things to spend your money on, like, that's silly. There's better things on the Canucks to spend your money on too, frankly. And
Yerky, there's like $60 worth of balloons over my shoulder that my lovely girlfriend paid for. I mean, people spend things on unique things, and let them spend their disposable income.
And so something like the protest, you're never going to get a lot of people out for it anyway. And so, yeah, visually it's maybe not the most appealing, but I have to assume that based on the rumors that floated after the first banner, for example, that ownership does take notice of it. Like they actually seem to react more strongly to these kind of stunts than they do to 7 years of results.
They would have gotten more names based on where the Canucks fandom lives. They would have just gotten more names on a petition if they just sent that around.
Oh yeah, a couple of IP Freelies, a couple of Seymour bots.
I think one of those was going around, but I mean, those things are out there for everything. And like, what happened? Is there a repository? Does someone take these petitions and like print them out and like stick them on a wall somewhere?
Yeah, I just like, first with the money thing. First of all, that's the amazing thing about money. When with someone that has money, it's their money. They can spend it on whatever the hell they want to spend it on. You can't be like, yeah, it's stupid. That they earned it. It's their money. However they got it, they're gonna spend it.
Arash, whether they buy a banner to fly over the city or whether they pay for a Jay Beagle contract. It's their money and they can do whatever they want.
It's their money. Well, yeah. But the difference is that one team is a business.
Right.
And we all take part in that business, even though it's privately owned and not public. We're not the Green Bay Packers, which would be amazing. Could you imagine if the Canucks were a publicly owned team? Like everyone in Vancouver had like a $20 share of the Canucks. We all got together and we're like, okay, who are we drafting?
You joke, and yet the crowdsourced intel for this team has been like vastly superior to what their management team has actually come up with. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Groupthink, baby. It's not that crazy.
I like it.
Yerky, you've been a tremendous supporter and a dear friend, and I did love meeting you. I have no qualms, like with Faber brought up. I have no qualms about meeting people that like the show or just want to engage, and like Arif and Gibson's with his new restaurant. The chances of me going there and plopping down my business are pretty good. Just putting that out there. But when you're coming to town, when you came to town to visit family and whatnot, and you're like, I want to try and go to a game. I'm like, I know a guy. I will take you to that game.
Aww.
And we had a great night. People are curious because you are appearing on the video version of the podcast, which is free. It's on YouTube and it's free for everybody this week. Your face is disguised. Your username is all we refer to you as. As we let you go, I'm curious, what's been the wildest accusation about who you are or who you could be or who you could connected be based on your very incredibly put together Betting on Empty comic?
None of them are that wild. The most common speculation is that I used to work for the team, which I didn't, but I sort of like to stoke that from time to time. Just if it lends credence to the idea that this actually is inside intel, then it's all the better. Although the reason, honestly, why, according to Jason Botchford, among others, the reason why some people have thought that is because it has actually been relatively accurate more often than not. And let that sink in for a moment, right? But so nothing wilder than that, or that maybe I'm a relative of someone, which I'm not knowingly anyway. But where was I going to go with that? I do know that a number of people within and without the organization have read it, which is pretty cool. I've had a number of stories that I will not state here, but I think Ryan, I may have even told you some of them offline, which surprised me as to me learning about, I guess, the extent of the reach of this, that it did reach ears that I'd never really expected before, or eyes, I guess. But yeah, no one's come up with a very, very strong theory yet, and there's a good reason for that. It's because there isn't one. I'm sorry, it makes it much less interesting, but I'm just a fan.
Well, I mean, we're a fan of yours. I'm glad you listen. I'm glad we're still appointment viewing. And I just want to thank you for your support over the years and getting random mail and texts and just the nonsense. I always look forward to seeing the old Yerky 21 come up on the old notifications, and you're a prince, and I think the world of you.
It's very mutual. You guys are great.
All right, bud. We'll let you go on that one.
Cheers. Have a good one.
It's good to see you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Every time I remove somebody from the call, okay, Dave's coming up 4 minutes. So we're gonna have a very familiar voice and face, actually two of them, because two people that were integral in the podcast starting out. Once again, thank you very much, Yerky, for phoning in, speaking slightly silently as his children sleep upstairs. You're going to hear a handful of voices and faces from the past. Dave is going to be joining us in a little bit, and I just want to put it out there that I reached out to Paul about coming on the show on Thursday, and Paul is we're in regular contact with him, and he's doing well, but he politely declined, and it was nothing personal, and that's that. But Paul's doing fine, and he's not going to be on the show. I hope he's watching. I hope he's listening. I sent him the intro video, and I said, here's a little walk down memory lane. But yeah, unfortunately, no PMAC on the street this week. He is on the street.
PMAC on the street, baby.
So
all right. So quick update. Florida beat Tampa. So Spencer Knight is a god.
Okay. So that
Tristan
series
Jarry.
is. What is that series now?
3-2.
Okay.
Islanders beat Pittsburgh. Tristan Jarry got sent back to his home planet yet again.
Mm-hmm.
It was a terrible goal. If you guys get to see it, it's like, you know, when you make a terrible decision and in recovery make an even worse decision trying to cover up for the first decision.
Is it a Kevin with the chili in the office?
Yes, that's 100% what the yes. It's like, what are the two pictures? They're the same picture. And now Edmonton and Winnipeg are tied.
Okay. Oh, man, this is a spicy one.
That game's gonna be spicy, baby.
But it's wild to think. Longtime listener and former roommate of the show, Michael, brought up a great point that, you know, you can talk about bad contracts and everyone's got him as your defense for Jim Benning, but there's a $10 million goaltender sitting in the press box tonight in the same seat that Arash would sit in for the Botchford project.
Yeah. Bobrovsky would be like, oh, so when do we? What's the word count on this article? It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean that was. I mean, at least our stuff is coming to an end. I mean, okay, knock on wood, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, this offseason is going to be crazy, and playoffs have been really good so far. I mean, did I reach a little bit with Minnesota? Sure. Okay.
There's a lot of ridicule coming from, I believe, people that love and respect you and possibly buy you JT Miller cameos. Okay,
listen, my very good friend Rafi Dota, Travis, who bought us that beautiful cameo, thank you again. He loves the Colorado Avalanche.
Right.
He's also quite somewhat new to hockey, like the NHL. He's an NBA, even though he's an NFL fan.
Oh, well, those are the same sports pretty much.
Same sports. I mean, I had to talk to him on Twitter when he thought that Nazem Kadri wouldn't get suspended. And I'm like, oh, baby. Well, let's do the NHL checklist. Okay, quickly. Okay. Suspended before? Yes. You play for a good team? Yes. Muslim background? Yeah. Okay, that's so bad. No, that's just me. That joke is me. It was just me. They've never done that. The NHL's never done that. That was just edit that out. Maybe don't edit it out. Actually, that's wow.
I'll try and remember it. I don't have my pen.
You don't have to. It's fine. But yeah, no, Kadri was absolutely getting suspended. That was 16 games? He appealed it.
Well, yeah, we've had
8 games in the playoffs means 16 regular season games. He's appealing.
We've had for many years on the show. We had a rather outspoken person that would probably love to chime in on what his thoughts on a Nazem Kadri suspension is. So we'll bring him out of the old waiting room here.
Yeah. Well, he dressed up for the occasion.
There's Dave. Dave, how the hell are you doing?
I'm good. I haven't been on the show in a really long time. Did I miss anything? It's like waking up and thinking that you've missed like 6 months of English class, and you're like, no, I'm in my 30s. And Miss Tossick, the teacher, is probably dead.
No, it's been a bit of a Groundhog Day. There's been weeks where we haven't been able to do the show. It's a pandemic. There's mental health issues. So we just go back into past episodes and we just find, I can't believe it's like The Simpsons with the automated DJ, where I can't believe Jim Benning did this. I can't believe Jim Benning is going to be aggressive in the off season by targeting veteran leadership who can also might be able to score. So
I can't believe Jim Benning overpaid and gave him that long of a contract.
Yeah, I can't wait to spin the wheel of truth this summer and see who it's going to be next and who we're all going to be upset about. But
who could it be, Dave?
Who could it be? Well, I'm looking at teams like the Edmonton Oilers, who are probably going to get bounced in a few hours. We're recording this on May 24th at about 8 o'clock local time. So, maybe Tyler Ennis will get a big payday out of nowhere. I feel like that's like a middle six guy. He's a Jim Benning guy. He's like Jimmy Vesey. He's got a couple YouTube highlights of some stuff he did, and he had a lot of buzz like about 6 or 7 years ago, and then nothing happened. That's a Jim Benning guy. I'm saying Tyler Ennis is a Canuck next year, or I'll grow.
Had $3 million per.
Okay.
For 4 years.
All right.
He's going to get that Jake money, that 2.75. Yeah, that's a good $3 million. Geeta might be right.
What about a Kyle Turris? Oh, he was probably looking to get him, but then he ran out of time because he was distracted by Oliver Ekman-Larsson back in.
Yeah. No, actually, you know what? That is a very good call. I think Kyle Turris has like been destined to be a Canuck for a long time, but it's going to be like Jake Taylor at Major League, where they're like, should have had him 2 years ago. Oh, like 4 years ago then.
We were just talking about Nazem Kadri getting suspended.
Yeah, I mean, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. He likes to hit guys in the head. He's done it before. He'll do it again. He gets 8 games, which is like the equivalent of 16 games. For me, I don't know about you guys, but the poetic justice in the whole thing is that Colorado runs the table without him and then scratches him when he's eligible to come back.
Yeah, that might be a strong possibility.
I mean, if they keep running teams over, like they didn't miss them in the back half of that St. Louis series at all, right? So, maybe you just, don't fix what's not broken, and don't Jim Benning, don't tinker for no reason, and leave a guy like DJ Cupper out there who does the same thing but doesn't take penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just name a more iconic duo than Nazem Kadri taking high hits or elaborate charges or suspensions in the playoffs, because that's like Christmas Day. It comes around every year. We love it. We set our watches to it.
He might be the only guy for me that Joe Sakic kind of missed on, because if you look what Alex Kerfoot's bringing for the Leafs, I mean, I'd rather have Kerfoot.
Yeah. Well, he's your perfect 200-foot plays on an edge player. If you take that Jim Benning approach to thing, it's these guys up top are not the toughest or the biggest, so we need Nazem Kadri in here to get suspended for them.
Or you look at a guy like Kerfoot who plays a hard 200-foot game, takes a lot of shot blocks, can score on the power play, can play the penalty kill a little bit. When his body breaks down in like 4 years, Jim Benning's going to be all over that. He's going to be like, I'll take what's left of that guy.
There's some meat on that bone still.
He's got name recognition. He played for Toronto. I mean, you can't go wrong. What's the worst that could possibly happen? He's going to look great on that fourth line with Travis Boyd and Jimmy VC. It's perfect.
Dave, we've done 300 of these. You were there for about all of them. Integral part of this show for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Miss that salt and that sass every week. Any thoughts, any memories come to mind with this momentous night?
I was thinking about this a little bit. If I had to pick a favorite segment that we've ever done, I'm going to go way back. This is like season 2.
Okay.
When we used to illegally record at Shaw. Well, you were on the clock, by the way. I don't know if you got to edit that out. It's not me on the show if you don't have to get into that timeline and do a little Ryan magic. But the Edmonton Oilers Unsolved Mystery segment is because of the production value, you put together an absolutely beautiful intro. And we really broke it down that it was a mystery. And here's the best part about it, guys. Here we are all those years later, probably 6 years later, it's still a mystery. We still don't know what happened. So I think for me, that's probably there's so many, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Probably not one of the best episodes to listen to ever, but one of my favorite adventures was the 2014 Olympics, where we stayed up until the middle of the night drinking horrible coffee at some sports bar that I'm sure didn't survive COVID. I'll bet my bottom dollar that's not there. And then and also probably not a great episode to listen to, but another favorite of mine was the second Pucks on Net Christmas party, where Geeta, myself, and you in particular, not Paul, he's a good boy, were so liquored up that we basically didn't make any sense. At one point, Geeta was chasing Mrs. Dave around the room with a wireless mic, trying to get her to talk. That's the highlight as well. So maybe not highlights in terms of we've done some amazing stuff. Obviously, you've got John Ashbridge coming on the show a couple of times. The episode with Jim Robson was amazing.
How about getting Kyle Wellwood to come up to Geeta's apartment and do a show?
Getting Kyle Wellwood to take his shoes off in front of us at Geeta's apartment was amazing. Kyle's gone a little bit off the rails, a little bit on the social media and some of the things he says, but God bless him. I hope he's doing okay. just covered in that hydroxychloroquine, I'm sure, in a bunker somewhere. But yeah, no, hey, like, you know, who would have thought that when you had this idea, Ryan, all these years ago, that we'd be still doing it all these years later. And there's a lot of people that listen to this show who get fired up at you guys, even though I'm not on the show anymore, and they text you and I'm like, I'm not an everyday player anymore. Come on. Like, you know, Ryan's got Twitter, like, leave me out of it. So and Geeta, they never have a problem with, and Arash is still building a cult-like following. But you know, I'm excited for the future. I think that there's at least 300 more in there. You know, why not? Why not keep going?
I mean, hopefully all of our listeners that are definitely missing Dave over these past few months know that he's been putting out a pretty damn good podcast named Off the Rush. That's available wherever you get your podcasts from. I've been known to dabble in it every now and then. A nice little weekend listen, but it's a good show, and it's the Dave we know and love. If I'm going to say one favorite moment before we send you off on your way, because we're running a tight ship with guests, and disgruntled former employee Sheila is going to be coming in next for a whistle-filled argument. But
I thought we replaced Sheila with Sarah Chalk, and no one noticed.
But if I have a favorite little moment of us doing the show and just being friends and being young, it says we're outside the Bourbon one Saturday night, and we're waiting in line, and it's Dave, Geeta, and myself, and one of us comes up with the idea that we should just say we're the Canucks. We're not being serious, but we're gonna be like, we're gonna.
For nostalgia, I had just come back from like a Tinder date.
It did not go well.
I put him in a cab and sent him on his way.
So we're in line, and I believe the idea is I'll be Hunter Shinkarik because that's my ringer. I don't have a beard yet. And somebody suggested Dave will be Lyndon Vay.
Well, and just to back this up really quick. So the idea came from, like earlier that year in the summertime, friend of the show, Jason Wiggins, and I were in Seattle for a Mariners game. They were playing the Red Sox. And I got mistaken for a Red Sox player purely by accident without even trying. Like, we were just in the lineup at this club called Fado. And the bouncer was just like, hey, I caught the game before my shift, you know, way to go, 6 2/3 and 1 hit. And I was like, and to be honest, I was so drunk, I had no idea who started the game. I still don't. And I was like, and then Jason just like, yeah, he was solid. And I was like, oh, okay. And before we knew it, we were in bottle service, and we had our first 2-6 of absolute comp. Anyway, so yeah, we're at the Bourbon. We come up with the scheme to say that we're Lyndon Vay. I'm Lyndon Vay.
We don't even get that far.
Even.
We just say Dave's Lyndon Vay, and this drunk guy in the front of the line. And this is we've said this show. I don't think Arash has heard this story, but this guy, and I swear to God, this is a peak Willie D. Lyndon Vay nonsense. This drunk guy in front of us turns around and he says Lyndon Vay, and then he mumbles something and he says outlet pass up the middle, and he throws a punch that lands between Dave and myself because he's so drunk, because he thought that Dave was Lyndon Vay, and he was so mad about his outlet passes that he was going to knock him out in line at the Bourbon.
I mean, he was about 18 inches away from us, and he missed us both completely. Like, you could not have thrown a slower or worse punch. Even the doorman at the Bourbon had a bit of a laugh at his expense, and we actually had a pretty good night. We had a couple of drinks, no big deal. We walked back towards Geeta's palatial estate, and I think I bought a bag of McDonald's. I remember that night really well because I never eat McDonald's, and I bought like what we call a hot bag. I don't even remember what I ordered. It was just burgers upon burgers and burgers. I find a cab. I take my cab back to East Vancouver. I'm walking down Commercial Drive. I'm about to turn onto my house on 3rd, and I just looked at the bag and went, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I left an entire bag of McDonald's uneaten on just a bench. Surely somebody's going to take it. I got up early. I had to go to the studio to work on a weekend day, of course. And the McDonald's was still there 6 hours later. So even the good street people of Commercial Drive, of which there are many, they also were like, that's a health risk we just can't take.
That's too shameful. It's too much McDonald's.
Yeah, can't
Dave,
do it.
Dave, I got we're tight for time, but I'm really glad you made time for us, and it's very great to see you. And I hope to see you sharing the mound with the Shitty Beatles in hopefully a month or two.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, everybody keep your sticks on your ice, get your jabs, and yeah, I'd love to be at that. Hopefully there's a Pucks on Net Christmas party. That should be a realistic goal. Let's get that done. December, we can all mingle. People will kiss each other. It'll be disgusting.
A mistletoe scene. Dave, all the best. Love you, man.
All the best. And hopefully at that party, the only thing we have to worry about are cold sores. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. When did you guys decide to keep swears in?
It's funny you bring that up because it's when I started working at Global with my Yerke 21 Street sign, and my hours were a little different, and the job called for a little bit more attentive approach to work. And I was like, I don't know if I can to get these out as quick as possible. I'm like, I don't know, I can listen to all these and hack it up and censor it, because like even it would take an hour, 2 hours to edit a podcast just to put this whistle in. And then we got listeners like Corey Bananas was like, I'm really glad you got rid of the whistles because it scared the shit out of my dog. So
amazing. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you're able to swear now.
Arash, you've been on this show for 28 episodes. Do you have a
That's pretty impressive.
28 episodes, you say?
Well, a bit more, because spearheaded was by Arash was the Pucks on Net postgame show for 2021, which was a delight. So you've really earned your stripes, I would say, this year.
You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, who knew in the middle of the pandemic all this stuff would happen? You know.
Well, who knew that you would? I mean, like we would never do this show remotely. It would be like a defeat if Paul was stuck in traffic and would have to do it on Skype, because that's just how life was. And now I'm looking at, like, when things go back to normal, I'm like, oh, maybe we can do one episode a month, not in person. Is that going to be enough? Because like things are so different now.
Yeah, what is going to be the new normal? Like, it's really funny. Like I thought last year, when we thought that this pandemic would be like 3 months, that post pandemic we'd have this, like, it would just be like Rome, like early Rome. Everyone's just out on the street, getting drunk, conceiving children, whatever. Dionysus everywhere, just Dionysus, just everything's Dionysus.
Right.
And now I'm like, I feel as we get out of the pandemic, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think a lot of people are it's introverted, quite a lot of us, where it's gonna be a slow thing. It's just gonna be a slow ramp up back to being like out and abroad and like doing stuff,
Especially when we lose our minds and go out every single night and go to 3 concerts in a week, and then we're like laying face down in a pool of our own drool because we're so emotionally spent.
I really like that so many of us have become homebodies. I like those evenings.
Oh, those evenings are great. And it's like it's just it's funny how much life has changed. And like, I mean, especially in the tenure of this podcast, when we started this in September of 2013, we were all wet behind the ears morons. I mean,
right.
And just trying to figure things out. Now we are in the 300th. We slightly figured things out. We figured out what we like and what works. And it's a nice thing. And yeah, homebodies ain't bad.
No, not at all.
Katie asked me in the car yesterday, do you guys get FOMO anymore?
There are sometimes dark days, but I don't know what I'm getting FOMO of. I just want to see my friends. That's all. I just like, the people that you would see a few times a month.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're not seeing them, and texting only goes so far because we're all kind of over the Zoom. I mean, apart from doing the podcast, I don't really want to have like Zoom hangouts.
Yeah, it's not really like a thing anymore. And it's just really interesting that as you get older, you become just so much more comfortable with yourself, where you don't feel like before, where a Friday was coming up.
Yep.
And if you didn't have any plans, you attached your own self-worth and value to if you had plans that weekend or not. So you're always going and trying to find plans. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given is by my second oldest brother, Apton.
Okay.
And in my early to mid 20s, I was a party monster. I would go out every week just getting stupid drunk and just needing to go out. I just needed to go out. And then one day he came to me, and Apton, you know, he was a Vancouver DJ, part of the Red Bull 3 style, like all that stuff. He came and he sat down with me and he just told me, Arash, there's always a party.
Yep.
And he just said, any day of the week, there is a party for you at any moment in time. You can find it. You'll be able to go.
Right.
So don't feel the need that, oh, this place is open and this place is doing this and this place. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, like, oh yeah, these things are just, you don't need to associate your value to any of these things. Then you like can breathe. You know, then you don't fear missing out, because you're like, well, actually, I kind of love me.
Right.
And me just wants to play Persona 5 for 7 hours until I hear birds chirping outside.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. And once you know what works for you and what's gonna give you the best, you know, mental health for that weekend or whatever that time for your away from work, like whatever, when you figure that out, man, you just go for it. So we've had a lot of voices, Ghost of Christmas Past, coming on the podcast. And you know, a lot of people have talked about the significance of the show and the work that's gone into it, but it was actually our dear friend Sheila's idea for us to do the podcast, and she's joining us here now. Sheila, how are you doing?
I am great. I am happy to be here.
Hi. I would like to thank you so much for what a gift this podcast has actually been.
I'm sorry for ruining one night a week for you for the last, how many years, Ryan?
It's about 7.5 now.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm actually the most proud of is I named it.
That is true. Sheila came up with the idea in the summer, and it's like, you should do a podcast. So I'm like, no, that's not going to work. And she's like, and you can call it Pucks on Net. I'm like, but that's so cliched. She's like, and then your intro can just be clips of people saying Pucks on Net. I'm like, okay, that might work.
And a podcast was born.
And it's never let you down. You always have fresh new content season after season, because they got to get those pucks on net.
Oh, fantastic. Sheila, you were very an important part of the first year of this show. We've done 300 of these. Is there any memories that anything that comes to mind that looking back on?
I'm just amazed that you guys are still going. And Ryan, I think that's a testament to you and your A-type personality, that no matter what, people are doing this, sometimes potentially under duress. Geeta, are you nodding? The parties have obviously been really fun. We've had some good moments there, but I think it's incredible you guys are still going. You're evolving. People are still listening. It's amazing. I'm really proud of you.
Now, you know, people have come and gone. You know, Geeta has been here since episode 6 when we pried her away from Monday Night Football. Arash has been here since a long weekend in September. Do you have any advice for him? Any knowledge or just anything he should look out for in terms of doing this show?
Warn me, Sheila. Just warn me.
Never miss an episode. Ryan will hold it against you.
Forever.
And I got fired and there was no severance pay. So I'm going to throw that out there, you know?
I thought it was a Vince Neil Motley Crue situation.
It was an amicable parting. It was the right thing to do. And you're better for it, so you're welcome.
Is Ryan getting Ellen DeGeneres right now? Where it's like we thought she's a cool boss, but actually Ryan's just a terrible monster behind the scenes.
Arash, those subtle cries have been interjected into like all 300 podcasts. Like we're basically screaming help.
Help, yes. Sorry, it's like
Sheila's muted, I think. Oh,
she's muted again.
She's still muted.
There you go.
I'm really great in online meetings. Let me tell you.
Sheila, it's I'm very thankful for the basic advice that you gave me back in September, 7-8 years ago. And as people come and go from this show, I always think back to a bit of a piece of wisdom that I've really clung on to, whatever I've clung to over the years, which was you're the sum of the everyone's the sum of the 5 people that they associate with themselves with the most. Mm-hmm. And all the people that are involved with the show, I've been incredibly close with and integral people in my life. So to have these people in my life that I could turn to and say, we're going to do a creative project. It's going to be a bit of a task and a bit to ask for, but everyone seems to be on board. So it means a lot. And just the people that are around me in life, I cherish a great deal. So I just want to thank you once again.
Congrats on 300.
Thank you. I just want to thank you so much for being the brainchild behind this podcast, because it's actually meant so much to me.
Oh, that is nice. I'm proud of you guys. Ryan, are you guys still using the whistle, the NHL 94 whistle?
I have warned Arash of what happened in yesteryear. So yes, I have it ready at the ready, just in case.
At the ready?
Yeah, the Geeta ready.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm going to leave it.
Oh.
I wrote down a few words, but I think we'll leave it.
No, please tell us the few words.
This is a repeat of a bit that might get cut out. But Ryan, there's just a few things I want to say to you about how things are going and how I really feel about you. Break out that whistle, you shithead, little ass.
I love it. Hey, you're a North Shore resident now, so please make sure that you find your way to Deep Cove, pop into Pomegranate. Please see Arash for all your pizza needs.
Yes, Sheila.
Best pizza on the North Shore.
Yeah, Sheila, just ask for the ass bitch special. I'll know what that means.
Awesome.
Sheila, thank you very much for joining us. This was a delight.
Thanks for having me tonight. And on every other episode I've been on, it's been fun. And the fun you guys have on this show and the bond you have shows to your listeners. So here's to much success in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. So your new name's ass bitch. Love it.
Oh man, this has
and
been.
We still have a couple more big guests to come.
2 people, and then we can.
Henrik and Danielson. No, just kidding.
So Jeff and Russ Courtnall.
Jeff and Russ Courtnall
at the same time arguing about which one's better at hockey. 30
and which one will actually be the general manager.
Oh my god.
Is Jeff Courtnall over now? Is that not happening or
listen. We don't know what nothing. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
They
even
know
the people
as much as we know.
Even the people that I know that should know what's happening don't know what's happening. Okay, let me just tell you that. In the DMs that in casual chats I've had with people that are higher up in this universe.
So and Francesco.
Yes. Francesco actually came to buy my pizza place, but that was just a hard boundary I had to set with him. I said, sometimes you can't have everything you want. But yeah, geez, I don't know, guys. Yeah, I just keep going back to the Vaz thing, and I feel like I'm really we're this fan base really is at the point where it's like we've run out of glue, and just one slight breeze that tips over this vase it's going to be just ash.
Well, what's our thoughts after that press conference on Friday that we talked to Faber about, and just the decisions and how those decisions were made?
Okay, so easily the best clarity and conciseness I've ever heard from Jim Benning.
Mm-hmm.
He took accountability, which was great. He needed to do that.
What's on me?
Yeah, it's on me. I take accountability. Yeah, did he bring up injuries? And yes, everything that could have went wrong this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad that this discussion had to happen like at the end of the season. It would have been great in the if he had met if JT wasn't the person that had to go out and do what JT Miller had to do, and it wasn't Travis Green every night having to do this.
Right.
They want to be aggressive. They want to do all these things. Okay, great. But I'm sorry, like who is the wait a like Jason Boxford said, who's the wait a second guy? Who's the guy to be like, hey, you know what? You actually went down this road before trying to be aggressive. Wait a second. Why don't we look back and see what's the difference? And do they have cap space? So is they're going to make trades? Who do you have to trade? Nate Schmidt? Like who do you have to figure, like buyouts? Are you going to buy out Erickson? No,
they're going to
only saves you $2 million. Like it makes no sense to just save $2 million for this year instead of eating the $6 this year and then getting $6 next year.
You know what upset me was they kept saying, well, it's like obviously the buyout's going to go to old JV18, and that is what it is. But you talk about, they're going to give us the resources. Like, no, you guys have spent to the cap for 7 years. The money's there. I want that resources, meaning a front office staff, because there's 2 guys there. And how is it that it's just so funny that all the media, all the smarter fans, more in tune fans, all of a sudden we're all started to ask, what does John Weisbrod do? And in the press conference, it comes up. And it's like, well, he's my right-hand man. I lean on him a lot.
Yeah, he's the AGM. I know it's a funny meme for people to ask, what does John Weisbrod do? He's an AGM. There's videos of him literally just sitting down with Jim Benning, being an AGM. And an AGM is an assistant advisor to the regional manager, someone who sits by him, gives thoughts, whatever. Like you look at any of the draft videos, like John Weisbrod is the one telling Jim Benning that, Jonah Gadjevich gives a real safe work environment. And Jim's like, oh, he hits too? Yeah, he's real tough. Talking about Jack Rathbone and all this stuff. That's what he does. Is he the best? I think like getting someone new to be Jim's right-hand man, someone with like a ton of experience would be great.
But if we're asking about who other people that are the best, our dear the resident Pucks on Net stepdad Jeff, arguably the best. Jeff, how are you doing?
Hi. Hey kids. Hey kids. Haven't seen you for a while.
Dad, you said you were going to go out for cigarettes, and then what happened?
Look, son, it was a while ago I went out, and I'm so proud of you guys for sticking with this thing and getting to number 30. Very proud of you guys. Thank you for the merch. It's held up really well. And I think it's a puck. Really appreciate you guys, and happy to see you guys all land on your feet after that Team 1040 thing.
We haven't seen you around since the first season.
Yeah, well, there haven't been any Christmas parties lately. Lately, and I've been hanging out at children's playgrounds just watching sports.
He's referring to his delightful.
I'm watching kids play.
What were you doing this weekend, Jeff?
We were boondocking.
Nice.
Yeah, camping. Hey, it says 300. There's 2 zeros above your head. Is that right?
Yeah, my lovely girlfriend bought me balloons for the occasion.
Oh, you guys, I'm so proud of you guys. Hey, have you guys had Joe Leary on yet?
Just to talk about the beer and the wine or whatever the hell.
Yeah, good guy. He's got a really good show out there.
You a big fan of that one?
Big fan of that guy. He always talks about brews and 2-for-1 tall boys. It's good. It's really good. But I'm happy to see you guys are still breathing, doing well. It's really great.
Do you have a question for Arash? He's new to the block.
I see Arash has already been at the arena this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I conned my way up there. It's really funny. Ryan wrote this.
Arash took the spot of 2 guys and has had no problem with it.
I mean, there's like 7 guys living up here. It's just they take turns figuring out where to come out, and then Ryan edits it all together.
No, you guys are a well-oiled trio right now, a power trio.
Yeah, we're like Rush, but we got a little more focused. Songs are a little tighter, not about the trees. Like
right. Well, it's a big celebration. We're partying hard over here, you guys. It's like New Year's Eve. That's what we're shooting hoops and we're just hitting swishes, nothing but net. My internet minutes are just about to expire here. I want to wish you guys the best. Congratulations on 300.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say this, Jeff. You've been a very important influence on me for many years. And after we did the first episode, and I sent it to you, you actually listened. You're like, okay, that was actually a pretty good show. And this is when there was a shitload of hockey podcasts, and I was like, okay, I think we got something here. And Jeff's got he's got a bunch of kids that he's looking at. They might be his, but he comes and goes when he's allowed. And the last time I saw Jeff was the night before our Ray Ferraro interview that Geeta and I did. And it's you always provide the right kind of guidance and the right type of fire under my ass. So I always appreciate it. And the fact that I text you and I said, I need you to come on the show. And you're like, whoa, I got kids and I can't distracted driving this and camping that. And I'm like, oh, it's a 300 episode. And you're like, oh shit, I guess I got to do that. So everything you've done over the years, I greatly appreciate.
Well, I got to tell you guys, keep playing that theme song. We'll keep cashing those royalty checks. The kids will go to college. The circle is squared, whatever it is.
Do you want to explain to Arash why that song is still there and why you keep making that?
I don't know why the song is still there. I shouldn't have made it past 30 episodes.
Arash, Jeff plays drums in his band Lions in the Street. That is our Pucks on It intro song and our closing song. So,
and because of this podcast, we have 25 monthly listeners on Spotify. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys greatly.
I love whatever is happening in your background.
Yeah, what's happening in the back?
Oh, back there? I don't know. No. I'm just I'm in my study.
Well, Jeff, I'll let you go on that note. Your minutes are
up.
I
got some bums to wipe. I love you guys. Good work on number 300. Can't wait to hear 301.
Well, also remember, when I ran into you in Stanley Park, your wife did say that this was the year you are allowed to come to the Pucks and Net Christmas party again. It's once every 3 years, so we'll see you at the Den in December of 2021.
I can't wait to wear my best denim.
See you later.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
I
loved it. It was like that was like a BBC interview.
I feel like I need a cigarette.
What a guy.
What a rush.
We have hard eyes emojis for him.
Arash, you've learned a lot about this podcast in the last hour and 31 minutes.
Yeah, you didn't even ask me to bring on one guest.
I brought JT Miller came on, remember?
I wanted to bring on my dad.
Where is he?
Yeah, he's upstairs. I'm not gonna bother him.
Does he know how to use Zoom?
No.
Does he?
You've met my father. Do you think my father knows what Zoom is?
You know, last Father's Day, when hockey was not a thing, I recorded a phone call with my old man, just talking about hockey over the years. So I'd be more than welcoming for you to do the same as a podcast episode to carry on the pizza legacy of the North Shore.
Listen, one day when all this stuff opens up and I don't know, stuff is back to normal, we'll have a great Parents' Day episode where we'll all bring our folks on and they'll wonder where the fuck they went wrong to lead us down this path.
What would be a better segment? Because in hockey they have the mom's trip, aka the Matt Bartkowski's mom trip, and they have the dad's trip. So what segment would be better, the Pucks on Net moms segment or the Pucks on Net dad segment?
I'm a huge fan of moms. Just because I just feel like okay, I'm just gonna say it. You have two people of color here, Ryan, and often the moms are like the most hilarious part of it just because they're very strong personalities.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like the moms of this trio, like I feel like all of our dads are pretty like smart, well-spoken, handy people. Our moms are like the fire that have led us through the depths of hell.
For sure. But I feel like our dads would be such cliches and just remind us of 1972.
Now, Paul Henderson's goal. Now, that was a goal.
I mean,
I don't think
Ryan saw my dad at my birthday earlier this year, and he made sure to remind him that he was a Leafs fan.
Oh God, that was a long-winded dialogue about not only his Leafs fandom, but that at one time he owned a lot of Air Canada stock, buddy.
And then today when we popped by the house, he's like, Reed, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a Leafs fan. Like, Dad, everyone knows that.
Oh man. Well, I mean, you live in a house of Jets fans, and I imagine that it is quite jovial.
I feel like he pretends he's a Jets fan. I'm like, you can watch the game with like the volume off. It's like, no, I'm just gonna go play video games. And yet I'm really keen to go watch this game because the series is exciting.
Meanwhile, you go upstairs and you're standing over his bloated carcass on the couch with his PlayStation 5 controller, and you're like, the East-West offensive game of the Jets is superior than anything the Edmonton Oilers have to offer. And Nikolai Ehlers has been doubted as a playoff performer for year after year after year, and you're sitting here playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City again? Come on! Jets fly together. It's a what?
Yeah. He's a real Evan Morrow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do another Patreon episode about that game because I have caught up. Maybe we'll do that this week. Just to touch back on the Canucks, they re-signed Travis Green at the absolute 11th hour after
Thank God they didn't run out of time.
They literally ran out of time. He could have filled.
They ran out of time, and then on the gracious bounty of God and Travis Green, he was like, I understand, ? I get why you didn't call me back.
Jeff Courtnall phoned him. All he did was like, hey Travis, just take a flight on Monday instead of Friday. Just if you could do that, that'd be great. And then that's it. That's all Jeff Courtnall does.
Jeff Courtnall called Travis and was like, hey, listen, they're on Tokyo time. They just have never figured it out. They're just on they're even their Google Maps is like, the train will be arriving at Shibuya. It's like, what? Okay, all right. Man, yeah, like what else? There's just so much stuff, and now we have to look forward to like the draft lottery is in like a week.
Whoa.
It's June 2nd.
Is there anybody that they've let go, like with Ben and Gaudette leaving? Like who gets protected? It's
great. Well, it's kind of great. Like, listen, if they can, I hope they do this.
Antoine Roussel.
So they had to protect Gadjevich or Koland. We saw Gadjevich and Koland. I think we saw a lot of Koland. Nothing. Does Koland need more time? Maybe.
I think time's up on Koland. I've seen everything I need. He's got Swiss League written all over him.
Yeah. And then, in their defensemen, they have really interesting, they can do a lot of interesting stuff. They picked up Madison Bowie that they can, protect, and that's a slot that they can use to get another player. Like if they have one slot where they're saying, okay, we're willing to expose Cole Lind or Jonah Gadjevich, and we're willing to play a little bit of shimmy and maybe expose Tyler Myers. Not that we want to lose Tyler Myers, but we don't think that Seattle will pick him up in the contract.
Right.
That's two slots that they can really go and they can really, do some fun stuff with. That's a really important avenue with the next year coming up. And if they can, I don't know, buyouts, okay, like Roussel or Beagle or whatever. Okay, fine.
Right.
Virtanen is the most logical person to buy out. Just because he with his age, there's a lesser cap hit through the next 2 years. But yeah, I don't know, just hold on, everyone. We're in it together. Yep. There's no clear answers. Let's just fucking
one day at a time.
One day at a time.
Well, we got our last guest of episode 300 coming up. They're in the waiting room, I believe. There we go. Ryan Hank of the PP1 Podcast.
Hey. I'm so excited to meet him.
Hold up.
Well, he's right there. He's in the flesh, Geeta.
I know. I'm a big fan of your tweets.
Hold up. Okay. We're good now.
Right. Hank was putting on his pants.
Books are falling.
Fangirling Ryan Hank.
Books are falling in the background. This is not good.
It's been backgrounds have been eventful of all our hits tonight.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, you've been a long time listener. You've been a great supporter of the show. When I worked on WHL and Shaw in Kelowna, you wouldn't stop pestering me to meet up for beers, or
And we did.
Or come and collect Pucks on Net swag. And at first, your reaction was meeting anybody off the internet. You're married. I don't think you've been on dating apps, but you're like, man, I hope this guy's not a huge weirdo. And then when I met you, I'm like, okay, well, I sure hope that guy isn't that big of a weirdo. And it was you've been a great guy. You've been a very good supporter of this show.
I thought the same thing, actually. And I was like, man, that guy was a big weirdo when I left.
Couple of perverts just going out for beers.
Hey, we didn't talk about what didn't or did happen. So
I mean, that's for the cutting room floor right there.
You know what? I did you a solid, though. I did you a solid on one of your broadcasts on the WHL and Shaw throwback time. I was wearing a Pucks on Net t-shirt, and I was there with my daughter, and we made some things happen to get a little, selfless promotional goods on your screen during a TV timeout. And I would say I held up my end of the bargain nicely.
You did. And so we're in the truck, and I'm saying, hey, there's a guy probably with a mustache, with a hat, with his Twitter handle on it, probably wearing a suit with mustaches on it. He's wearing our shirt with our mugs on it. I need that front and center coming out of break. And when it did happen, the numbers, they just went through the roof.
And how did they repay you? They shut it all down.
They shut it down. They kicked my ass to the curb, Ryan.
Yeah.
We've done 300 of these. I don't know how long you've been listening for, but you've always been a great listener. Do you have any memories? Any sentiments come to mind?
I mean, so many, really. I remember when I started listening to you guys, like I was going through some tough times in life, and like there was one sandwich left in the fridge. I don't know how old it was, but I'm like, I need to eat this or I'm going to just perish. It could have been like 5-day-old tuna. I have no idea. But then I thought, no, there's a better way. There's a better way. I could tune in to a podcast when podcasts were new and people just decided like, hey, we can just talk on the internet and people will listen to us. And you know what? I found you guys and you found me.
We found you.
And that's about it. I don't actually have any good memories of the show at all.
You heard it here, folks. Pucks on Net, where we don't want you to eat, but spend your money on us.
Yeah. Well, something along that. I don't know.
Well, $5, you could buy yourself a 6-foot sub, or you could donate to Patreon.
My favorite thing is every time on social media, there's like a super basic like Instagram blogger lady, and she's like, hey Vancouver, I just found the best place to get lunch for under $5. And in my head I'm like, oh, it's Vietnamese banh mi. Vietnamese banh mi is the best place. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because it's the only fucking sandwich is $5.
Yeah, exactly.
That or bonds. Relax. It's like a white lady found banh mi, and she's like, oh my god, look, I found it.
You were talking about Subway. Remember the stamps? Stamps before everyone ruined it, and you could buy the stamps online? Like somebody ruined it for everybody. That's why they stopped doing them, because somebody managed to like sell off like rolls of the stamps.
Oh,
and they ruined it for all of us.
I used to collect them when I went to UBC, and that's how I fed myself.
It was good. Like every now and then you'd get like that. I'd save up and I'd have like 2 free like footlongs.
Yes.
Like because you work retail, so I mean you're eating Subway a ton. Eventually, every now and then, I'd get like 2 free footlongs. I'm like, I'm treating me. Today's a me day.
Ryan, you've been really carving out a good name for yourself in this very overpopulated Canucks and Vancouver hockey podcast market, and it's great to see. And I would just like you to go on record and thank me for all of the hours of troubleshooting, equipment advice, and audio tests, and just a lot of my personal time is lost.
I can do that. I can go on record. I would like to thank Ryan for coming out and realizing like his purpose in life to start a podcast and with 2 of his buddies and get into, the market and really see where he could. Oh, you meant you. You meant you. Seriously. If it wasn't for Ryan Schaap we wouldn't be properly placed in the Smealosphere, if you will. Ryan, back and forth. I'm like, hey, what mixer do I buy? What mics do I need? And then he goes, no, that's the wrong mixer. And I'm like, well, it's already in my house. So, so now I got to send that back. And then the next week we had the right one, and then things were okay from there. But, you know, it's a little troubleshooting. I mean, a little back and forth, little, I hope this guy's not like hating me for texting him at 3 a.m. Like, what does this mean?
It means you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. No, I need to know now. I need to go to sleep knowing this. So no, it's been great. I do appreciate it. And we've had 2 of the 3 of you guys on our show. So, I mean, Geeta, like, if you want to come down from like your palatial estate and, you know, just, you know, be a commoner with us.
Well, just send me an invite.
We will make sure. Oh, look at, you got that little microwave. That's a nice microwave you got back there.
Oh, I thank you.
Very nice. There, that's nice.
Ryan, you got balloons. It's the 300th episode. I was going to wear my 300 t-shirt from the movie, but I don't own one. So I didn't want to spend money for this. So
Ryan, listen, you've been never a bother. Interacting with you or going on your show has never been a chore. I thank you greatly for always supporting the show, spreading the, you know, getting the word out there, asking questions, whether they are revolting or very hilarious. You do a great job, and I just want to thank you very much from all of us for being a great fan and being influenced, even if maybe the slightest, to do your own show and step on our necks as on your way to the top.
Well, it's going to take a while. Now, I have one serious question. So I saw the cake that you had made. Now, was there 2 cakes? Am I correct? Was there 2 cakes that were made? My girlfriend loves to plan parties and celebrations, and there was a plan for balloons and an ice cream cake to be outside. Okay. And I thought that neither one of them would survive. So she originally phoned up Dairy Queen, you know, some of the finest cake artists in the world at the Lynn Valley Dairy Queen, and said, this is what I want.
She went to the Lynn Valley Dairy Queen?
I assume so. I think that's the only one on the North Shore.
Should have good talk to me, Amanda. The Lynn Valley Dairy Queen has a rep.
Oh.
And whoever worked there just wrote, congrats on 300 episodes.
Yeah.
And barely fit it in. Yeah. So that wasn't
did she scrape it off?
It was into the icing, I saw.
Yeah, she scraped it off and then did her own little 300 with a crow.
So did you offer them any cake because, you know, they're all part, like, or did you just say, I'm going to hoard this to myself?
You've met Ryan,
Arash and Geeta doesn't get any. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I never thought about that. Wait, what? Yeah.
Oh, it's all I've been thinking about, you guys.
Well, like, now I want some. You know what we do in our family? Any birthday, we would buy a cake, and my in-laws would also buy a cake. And we would eat a resume. Like, it doesn't matter whose birthday it was, everybody got cake, no matter.
Aww.
So I see this as an opportunity for Ryan to maybe like get off that Patreon money, maybe spend a few dollars for the rest of your castmates, and, you know, maybe be the leader that they want you to be instead of just being like, you know, this, you know, just this hoarding guy of DQ cakes. I'm sorry. This is when you talk about food.
Amazing. Just wait a second. Ryan, Chap.
Yeah.
Have you eaten part of the cake yet?
Yeah.
Look at him.
I'm glowing with cake.
How much of the how much of the cake did you eat?
I had probably a quarter of it.
What are you doing with the rest of it?
I also imagined that you didn't cut a slice out. You just stuck the fork right in it.
Yeah. Did you stick the fork or did you actually cut it?
I had a square in the middle, I bet.
This is guys, this is so funny that we are talking about this cake because this video just came in, and I'm just gonna share my screen.
Brian, I just want to say thank you for that delicious ice cream cake, and hopefully your 300th episode went off without a hitch tonight. I'll be tuning in either later tonight or tomorrow. Anyways, thank you very much. Much appreciated. We'll see you at Red Robin tomorrow night, baby.
Oh man! Oh,
Judas.
You know what?
You little Judas.
I was gonna give this back to Alan Walsh, but I think you guys can use this sword on Ryan now. Apparently, the divorce sword.
I will in my defense, it is Errol's birthday tomorrow.
There is no in your. This is the greatest betrayal since the Ides of March.
You repurposed our 300th cake for Errol's birthday. Did you just scrape off the icing and write "Happy Birthday, Errol"?
I should have.
He's using his Zoom account too, from the looks of things. This is getting really weird right now.
Well, from the looks on Arash's face, it sounds like we'll be starting our own podcast pretty soon here.
This is awkward for me. So if you guys need me to celebrate with you,
Ryan, we may be looking for another Ryan.
No, we may be
we've
looking
got a
for
pretty
legal
interesting
counsel,
podcast idea.
honestly, if you have any experience being a lawyer, I am taking this to civil court. What the fuck, Shaq?
But I've seen Suits though.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I got to kick Ryan out of here. There's too many people against me.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, I want to thank you for coming on and for bringing your flair. And when you eventually take over the host chair on this podcast, you're going to be great because I've given you all my information, and then you're just going to take the Marc-Andre Fleury sword into my back, and that will be that. So I want to thank you once again for joining us, being a delight.
Thank you, Hank.
And that's very funny.
Hey, you guys, I love you. Great show. Happy 300. Here's to 10 more.
10 more episodes of #CakeGate.
CakeGate 2021. Oh man, that's tough.
You got us where it hurts in the ice cream cake.
You got the one way that you can screw over two people of color, Ryan, is to fuck with their food.
Do you know who has another 25% of that cake right now?
Who?
A bunch of white boomers on the North Shore. So I ain't guilty here.
Wait, you're not guilty. What are you gonna say? If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. You're gonna start that now?
Listen, I'm hoping that we can all see each other socially distanced maybe this week when Arash isn't flipping pizzas, and maybe I can use a couple of those Patreon bucks and bring another Dairy Queen ice cream cake.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'm gonna need time to process this, but maybe.
Listen, I thought that this was a great, for an almost 2-hour podcast, one we've never done this long.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Before I go into plugs, and there won't be a 5 minutes for paying because my voice is hoarse, and this is going to be free. The YouTube video is going to be free because it's our 300th. Geeta, just wrapping it up on 300 episodes and being involved for as long as you have. What are your closing remarks?
It's pretty special. I know, like, I always bitch and complain about being here. Because it is a huge commitment, but I also know how big and important a part of my life it's been.
Yes.
And when you played that video, like, I felt the emotions because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many happy memories that are tied to this podcast.
Yeah. And like, Geeta, you and I were, classmates and didn't really, we were friends and in the periphery, in the ones you would see every few months, but you left Monday Night Football with a John Elway game. Sorry, not John Elway, a Peyton Manning game to do the show, which looking back was just
I left a Broncos playoff game on a Sunday because you couldn't get Dave to show up.
But
no slight to Dave. That's not how I'm meaning it. I don't know what was going on in that context, but and it was you're right. It was a Sunday night in October, and you needed a third person, and I dropped everything and showed up, and I'm so glad that I did that.
And just the actions you did on night one of being involved with the podcast, and nothing has changed. You've been nothing but the best co-host and friend and business partner and contributor and creator together. And you mean the world to me. And it all definitely grew from this podcast. Mm-hmm. And there's much more in regards to our friendship and our relationship outside of this podcast, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And I love doing it.
But not just my relationship with you and you with me, but it's our relationship with Dave, Paul, Sheila, and now Arash.
Yeah. And to to have met Arash at the Christmas party at the last Pucks on Christmas party, because you're the sum of the 5 people that you know, and if you know good people, like I know my friend Josh and my friend Mike Noble, he associates himself with good people, and that's exactly what Arash is. And for him to show up and be vulnerable and be like, oh yeah, I like the podcast, I listen to the podcast, and I'm excited to be here, and just I'm like, this is a great guy, a very unique guy who shut the party down by giving his Backlash 2000 soliloquy. And there's a photo of it where everybody is in it and Paul's in the background watching. And it's like, at that moment, I'm like, this is a very special person. And meeting him a couple more times down the way where I'm like, my dear friend Josh, the wrestling brain, the brain genius, he said he was talking about looking to find a new podcast host and do something. And I remember we were at his house watching wrestling on May Long Weekend, 2019. And he turned to me and he's like, man, I wonder if Arash has any podcasts, because he'd be really good. And that moment stuck with me where I'm like, yeah, he would be. That guy would be great. And when we were having troubles putting a full bench together, and it was, every summer was happening and things were changing and people were unable to do the show anymore. And I'm like, I still feel like doing this. And I remember it was before game 6 or game 7 in the St. Louis. Well, actually, Arash came over and he watched one of the St. Louis games, and just how entertaining it was to watch hockey with him in person, and the insight he brought, and just being fun. I'm like, this guy would be perfect for the show. And on our last little issues of logistics and people committed to the show, we were driving to Squamish for the day, and I remember getting on the highway from Capilano with Amanda, and I was dealing with all this issues, and I'm like, she's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I just don't want to talk about it. And within about a couple hundred yards on the highway to Squamish, I just explained what was going on and what I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, when we got to Squamish, I'm like, okay, so the plan is I'm going to reach out to Arash and hope he wants to do the show, and maybe he'll want to do it from time to time. But for him to be very open and honest with us and say how committed he was, and from our secret photo shoot
he's brought new life to the podcast.
He's brought new life, and just it went from being a difficult Sunday night. Are we going to do the podcast tomorrow? We don't know. And now we know. Now there's no anxiety, and it's so much fun. And Arash brought a great new group of people that are listening, and he brings his own outlook and his own approach to the game, and we are just doing great things together. And I don't know when the last episode's going to be, but I don't foresee it being anytime soon, because we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I am terrible when people talk, like give me compliments. I always deflect, and I'm really bad at taking them, because I am, you grow up and you don't give a ton of value to yourself unless your environment does that. And being the youngest of 3 boys, sometimes it doesn't happen. But I look back, I'm going to keep it pretty brief, but I look back on the last year of my life, from the bubble of last year to now, where I've joined you guys, talking with you guys every Monday about a sport that we love, laughing with you guys. And I have never been a part of one episode where I felt like this was a chore. To you guys pushing me and encouraging me to apply for the Botchford project, to getting the Botchford project, to having that day, to meeting the people that I got the opportunity to meet, connecting with Chris Faber, and like talking to like people like Faber and Ryan Beach, whom both told me that they hold both both of you, Ryan and Geeta, in such high praise in terms of listening to you guys. And it was then that I realized I already had a tremendous amount of respect for you two, but it was something that I realized when they had told me about it. They had told me how much they respected the two of you, that I felt like, oh shit, these guys are like the pod fathers of Vancouver hockey at this point.
Like that's what I'm a part of. And just being able to have someone believe in you and take a shot and give me an opportunity from where I was last year to, you guys, I've talked about it on the podcast, I've been working at a restaurant to support my family for as long as I have. It's not the thing I want to do, but hey man, I want my kids to have an opportunity at life too over here. So you guys gave me an opportunity at a time when I think at the lowest, I was kind of maybe thinking that I was like, yeah, maybe this is it. Like maybe no more doors open up for you. And then a door opened and I fucking wanted to take it and bring it. And I was so excited. And without you two, I don't want to know. I don't want to know where the last year of my life would be. I don't want to even think or fathom where I would be in terms of like positivity and happiness and stuff like that. So there's going to be more episodes. This thing's going to keep going. It's going to evolve. It's going to get crazier, or maybe, whatever. It's going to get even more fun than it is now as we grow older and as we continue to grow and our reach continues and everything. I just think you two should be get the whistle out. You guys should be so fucking proud of continuing this podcast, continuing what you guys have accomplished, making a platform that gives someone like me an opportunity. You guys should absolutely be so proud of yourselves for putting in the hours and the hard work. And yeah, to anyone listening, thank you for supporting Ryan and Geeta and Dave and Paul. Thank you so much for continuing all of the hours that you spend listening to us every week, because not only has it supported two of the best and most beautiful human beings I know, if it wasn't for your support listening, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be where I am now. And if I didn't have that opportunity, man, my life wouldn't be as great as it is now. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to you two so much.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you very much.
I'm still kind of pissed off about the cake. I'm not gonna lie.
Not doing any plugs. Go follow us on Twitter, Pucksnet, Pucksnet. And please go support Heather Smart's initiative with On Canada. And if you want to help contribute, we're going to be giving a fair bit of our Patreon money for June as we compose ourselves and wipe away the very positive tears. I just want to thank everybody that's ever listened for a minute, that's thought this was funny or entertaining or interesting. And it's been a great journey. It's everything you could hope it would be. And unlike the Winnipeg Jets, unlike the Edmonton Oilers, we're not going to buckle under pressure when things get tough. And I'm looking forward to 301, 302, and maybe 303. We'll see. But we'll leave it on that note. Good night, everybody. There's no 5 minutes for paying because we've been talking for 2 hours. Don't forget to tip your waitresses, and please drive safe.